Hello everyone, Big Seven here back for another SuperCoach BBL video. It's been an action-packed weekend with 4 BBL games, which constitutes an entire round. And for me, it was quite a topsy-turvy adventure, starting off with the Adelaide and Brisbane Heat game, where I traded in Kawaja and Travis Head. Got my week off to a terrible start. Also with the vice captaincy on Matt Short. And so with Matt Short only scoring 50, I decided it was a good time to try and take a bit of a risk and claw some points back. I was originally thinking of trading out Joe Clark, and in the end, I decided to keep him. And in a complete 180, I decided to put the captaincy on him against the Renegades at Marvel Stadium. I thought that would be a fairly good batting wicket and got a little bit lucky there. He could have been out early in his innings after he got a 6 from hitting the roof. But at 99 as captain, I'm not going to complain about that. And then into the Hobart and Thunder game, I decided my third trade in, and I went for a guy by the name of Daniel Sams, who delivered, came back into form with 145, had a really rough patch of about 3 games, and managed to nail the timing of getting him back in. My main rationale was that I was going to want him for next week for his game at Manuka Oval, which has been a really happy hunting ground for him, up against the Renegades, who are not a good team. So managed to bring in Sams, also had Alice on field, and also loopholed Meredith. So that game looked fairly good, with the exception of McDermott scoring a 0. So I was in a good position going into tonight's game with the Sixers and the Scorchers, and unfortunately that game didn't pan out as I would have intended. I had the choice of benching either Ty or Abbott because I wanted to take Meredith to score. So I decided to go with I decided to bench the player that was bowling in the second innings, because generally players that bat in the first innings or bowl in the first innings are going to score more than players that bat in the second innings or bowl in the second innings. Didn't pan out being this way, so dropped about 70 points there. And also fielded Aaron Hardy and Josh Inglis. So overall, was a mixed bag for myself, but in the end, moved up about 100 ranks or 70 ranks to go inside the top 400. And that leaves my goal of finishing in the top 100 a slim possibility, but there is still the possibility. So I'm going to be making some pretty aggressive moves to try and get there. The way I see it, I'm happy finishing inside the top 2,000, but I want to take that chance to move into the top 100. I mean, there's no point really playing it safe and, coasting to a 300 odd rank. I want the top 100. I want the socks, and I want the Zinger voucher. So, what am I going to do to improve my team? So there are teams with doubles in round 12, and that is the Scorchers and the Heat. In terms of Scorchers batsmen, I've already got the main guys. I've got Inglis, I've got Hardy, and I've got Bancroft as well. In terms of Heat batsmen that I want Marnus, and he'll be one of my trade-ins this week. But in terms of other batsmen, I've already got Kawaja. Josh Brown would be okay. Don't mind him as an option, but not going to go there myself. Renshaw may be a cheap pod, but I'd have to see where he's batting, and there's a bit of uncertainty at my end. I'm not sure if he'll bat at 4 or 5, and I'm not sure how the Brisbane bowling lineup will turn out. If he was batting at 4 and I knew he was going to get a couple of overs, then I would bring him in. But I'm going to wait until round 12 itself to see if Renshaw is a good buy or not. And into the bowlers, and this is where it gets really tricky, because for the Perth Scorchers, they've got their cartel of 5 fast bowlers that they can rotate through. They've got Ty, they've got Behrendorff, they've got Lance Morris, they've got the international David Payne, and they've got Matt Kelly as well. So I don't want to trade any of those guys in this week and then find out that they're rested for the first game of the double. if I do trade someone in next week and they play the first game and don't play the second game, then that's just so be it. But I don't want to be put into the position where I trade in a Perth Scorchers bowler this week. So, for example, if I trade in Berendorf and then he doesn't play the first game, if he doesn't do that, do I field him? Do I bench him? It's just a little bit awkward for me. So I'm not going to bring in any Perth Scorchers bowlers this week. And in terms of Brisbane Heat bowlers, I've got no idea what they're doing. I don't think they have any idea what they're doing either. Mark Steckity is probably their best bowler, and he's been dropped on form. I don't understand that decision. Michael Neese is bowling, and he has been bowling some depth recently, but is there a chance that he gets dropped? I think there could be. Spencer Johnson, young bloke that's been bowling all right while he's been in the side, but again, you just don't know how much leash he's got. And so the player that I'm thinking of getting in, which I'm not 100% sure about, but I think he has the role, and that is Baisley. He's batting at 7, and I know Ross Whiteley was in that position, but the way I see it, Baisley is a better bowler, and Whiteley hasn't been performing with the bat either. So I think Baisley should be safe enough to hold his spot. So I want to bring in Marnus. I want to bring in Baisley. How am I going to facilitate that? I'm thinking I'm going to take a really big risk this week. And there's a guy, he's been amazing all season long, but he's 250 points ahead of anyone else in terms of scoring in the comp. But I'm going to trade out Matt Short. And I know that some of you will be banging your heads on the keyboard thinking about this. But looking at it objectively, yes, he's still going to bat at the top of the order. But in their last couple of games, the strikers have been playing 5 specialist bowlers, which means that Matt Short, he bowls the opening over, and then last game at least he didn't bowl another over after that. And so with that, I basically see him as an opening batsman that bowls one over now. So he also has games against the Sixers and the Scorchers coming up. So those two are probably the 2 toughest matchups. So I'm going to take a gamble. I'm going to trade him out and bring in the aforementioned Marnus. And then my other 2 players I'm going to trade out. So I'll bring in Baisley. And so looking at the rest of my team, I really like Abbott as a single game week option. He's just going to be a season hold. Daniel Sams, I can't trade him out after 145 and playing his next game at Manicure Oval. And so that really only leaves a few players that can go. Cooper Conley, I do have a plan for him, and that's to trade him out next round. I think I'm going to keep him this week because I want to use him as a loophole. And so that leaves Joe Clark and Hilton Cartwright. So Joe Clark, I'm going to turn into the Marnus. And then Hilton Cartwright, I'm going to be a bit tricky here, and I'm going to bring in a second loophole. And that player is going to be Pete Hanscom. And I think he's in the test squad, actually. So he won't play at the back end of this tournament. And also with Sam Harper in incredible form, I don't see Hanscom getting back into the side. So doing that allows me to have Connolly and Hanscom as my 2 loopholes. I'll trade out Connolly next week into a playing player with this 100k I've got in the bank. And the other good thing about having Hanscom as a loophole is that the Renegades play after the Scorchers and the Heat. Whereas if I kept Connolly, then I wouldn't have a captain loophole to use for next week. And then in round 13, the Renegades play a middle-ish game, but it's after the Hurricanes as well. So I'd be able to loophole like a Sean Abbott if I needed to. But yeah, the vice captaincy will go on to a Hurricanes player, obviously. So this is how the team is going to line up. We'll see if optimizing makes it good. And so with the loopholes, I don't trust Kawaja after he burnt me last week, so I'll see what he scores. If he scores well, then I can move Hanscom into my batting line. And I think the other player I'll loophole is Head, coming off a poor performance. And he does have a pretty low floor because it doesn't look like he's going to bowl. So him and Kawaja both got really low floors, and I kind of just want to eliminate that. I'm going to put Hardy there. And I think this is how I'm going to line up with the vice captaincy. I'm considering taking a risk here and going for Baisley as the vice captain. I'm hoping that the Stars collapse, basically. The Stars aren't a good batting lineup, and so Baisley, I think, has the potential to take a haul of wickets. And then my captain is probably... I'm thinking I'll probably go Daniel Sams. Back in form. Manika Oval is a good hunting ground for him. I guess the other option I have is vice captaining Abbott. The strikers aren't a bad batting lineup. They do have a bit of a tail, but they've got a pretty solid top 4, top 5. So I'm thinking I'm going to go Baisley as vice captain. I could potentially go Marnus as well. But I think I want to go the bowling option against what is a weak Stars batting lineup. The last game at the MCG was really low scoring as well. Other games, Coffs Harbour, there's been the last 2 BBL games that were there. I think the first innings totals were 155 and 180-ish. So that doesn't really give me a lot of confidence in Abbott. And then I've also got a ton of Scorchers and Hurricanes players. I guess I could put the captaincy or vice captaincy on one of those, but I guess if I'm playing this many players, then I don't really want one player to go off. I would rather a spread of points. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the right way to think about it, but I guess I'm trying to maximize my team total, and if one Scorchers player goes off with the bat, then it means, or say the Scorchers go off with the bat, then it means that Alice and Meredith don't score well with the ball. So I'm kind of hoping that's more of a balanced game with no huge scores in it, but with like good scores for all my players that I'm going to be fielding. And Sam's as captain, I think it's pretty straightforward. The Renegades aren't a good side either. Manika Oval is good ground for Sam's. I guess the slight concern with this team is that if Kawaja and Head both fail, then that's a lot of Hurricanes and Scorchers players that I'm going to be playing. So with the Scorchers particularly being one of the better teams, I would prefer not to have to play McDermott, but I do have to with this lineup. And so, I'm kind of expecting this week to be a week where McDermott doesn't do well, maybe Inglis fails again, and I guess my best case scenario is that Head does well enough so that I can bench Hardy, and then it's more of a bowler-friendly wicket, and I've got a couple of batsmen in there that can hopefully score a few runs and a few catches. So I'm kind of expecting it to be a little bit of a down week for me this week, but my team is also really well set up for the next couple of weeks. Round 12, we've got the Heat and the Scorchers with doubles. I can bring more of those players in next week, and have 9 or 10 players with a double. And then round 13, I've already got my 4 Hurricanes players, but there are more players that are relevant from the Hurricanes as well. Paddy Dooley bowling very well. Could also go Ashraf if he's still around, which I think he will be. I think there was talk that Shadab Khan could potentially be back as well. So I'd be, yeah, and Tim David as well, batted well with the bat. Caleb Jewell has been in form. I think I'm going to avoid him. But I guess my point is plenty of Hurricanes players I can bring into the last round and really kind of attack that double and hope to scrape home in the top 100. So, yeah, those are my trades. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm expecting a bit of Matt Short backlash, but hey, we'll see in a week if it's a masterclass or disaster class. So, yeah, best of luck with your teams this week, and I'll see you for the next video.